Host the 5-4 Ravens on Sunday. The Cowboys have never beaten the Ravens, going 0-4 against them in franchise history. We're joined by two-time Super Bowl champ Ray Lewis. Ray, welcome back.
Thank you, guys.
Looking sharp today.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Like that.
Let's talk about your former team, the Ravens.
No, he got you today. I'm sorry he got you. It's okay. Just once you have to admit it.
I come over here and say, you know what? I'm going to come on like my homeboy Skip. We're on the home team now. I said, I'm going to be like Skip today.
No tie?
Come on, we got you today.
Yeah, but you dressed down. He dressed up.
Yeah, I know.
Way up.
I'm trying to be like you, Skip.
Okay, you got it.
Never again, though. I learned my lesson.
I think you guys all look very sharp today.
Thank you,
man.
Joy.
How good do you think the Ravens are right now?
Oh, wow. I think, when you think about a team, they're going to have to, they're still trying to figure out offensively what the identity is over there. But I think when you really think about what the team is built on, it's always been built on defense. I think it will always be built on defense. It's really interesting. I've always been close with Dean Pease, who is probably one of the best defensive coordinators I think I've ever been. Just the knowledge on how he prepares these guys and the things that he thinks of. So when you think about what the Baltimore Ravens are doing defensively, I don't think people really understand their numbers, right? So I get a call the other day. If you think about their total defense, they're number one. Third down percentage, they're number one. Rushing defense, they're number one. Rushing per carry, they're number one. First down per average, they're number one. 3 and outs for us, they're number one. With a tie. Interceptions, they're number two. That's the Baltimore Ravens defense right now. It's still with a 5-4 record, right? And you think about sometimes the inconsistency of the offensive side of the ball, but I think if you can get them in a dogfight, which they're most of the time always in a rough dogfight, then they can find a way to pull something out. But I think the Ravens are going to have a tough task this week dealing with the Cowboys. It's really, you think about Ezekiel Elliott and what he's done from the rushing side of things, number one rush in the NFL, coming against the number one rush defense in the NFL. When I was playing, when you heard those numbers, you always said something has to give. And this week, something has to give. So I'm really looking forward to this game.
So what he just described was the good old days of 2000, except you did have a Shannon Sharp who could make one play. You just needed one play,
We just
right?
needed one
Big play, Shay?
Yeah. Right? But this team might need a couple of plays a game. And Joe Flacco, whom I sometimes refer to as Fluco, he hasn't had that kind of year to make a couple of plays.
Right.
He makes one or, he'll get Mike Wallace loose every once in a while. Steve Smith,
right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just think, once again, if you think about what their ability is, it's that big play ability, that if they get the ball, if they just stretch Mike Wallace down the field, that's going to be a mismatch or a foot race. Steve Smith one-on-one in the slot dealing with whoever that third corner is. If you find those mismatches, you're going to really have a real chance. But one of the key matchups is going to come out of this game is the front seven, right? With what they do in the front seven with Sizzle and now with this boy Elliott, how he jump cuts, right? Is one of the things about defense. We watched it against Pittsburgh the other night. If you don't play sound defense, if you don't get up under a block when you should get up under a block, he skips cut and he jumps out of the hole. And that's what I think makes him so unique as a runner. We haven't seen like this type of explosion from a running back. Why? Because the running back position has been taken out of the game. Everything is about passing. You're not letting them touch the ball 25, 30, 35 times.
So does Suggs always stay in his lane?
I tell you one thing about him. When you piss him off enough and you let him know what type of talent and what type of challenge it is, he responds. And I think in this game, them knowing what they have to do, which is stop the run. Now look, you're going against probably the best offensive line in football. So now you have a way to measure up with all of these numbers, saying, can we back all of these numbers up? I think they have a good chance going down there to do it this week. I've always liked purple, and that's just who I am. So
The thing that I love most about football is man against man.
yes, sir.
You're trying to move a man against his will. We lining up. We trying to push you back.
Yeah.
You lining up. You trying to come forward. Some got to give.
Okay.
So all on the board. All the Ravens see when they walk by, Ezekiel Elliott got over 1,000 yards. The third guy, the third most yards in his first nine games to start a career. That's all they see. Ezekiel Elliott, MVP contention. Dak Prescott, MVP contention. Like, what a minute.
Right. Here we go.
They barely mentioned. I know our record's 5-4. I know we don't. We're not. where we want to be.
Yeah.
But as I told Skip earlier, this is a prideful bunch.
Yes, sir.
And when you play on that side of the football, when you coming in and you put on that black and purple, there's a pride factor.
Yes, sir.
It doesn't matter what transpires on the opposite side of the football. It doesn't matter who we play. We are the Baltimore Ravens defense. And we play that regardless of who we play against. Now, tell you what's going to happen. They're going to get on that bus, Suggs and Jernigan and C.J. Mosley and Williams. They're going to get on that bus, and they say, all they talking about is Zach Martin. All they talking about is Fredericks. All they talking about is Tyron Smith and how they can do this and how they can do that. Watch what they do to Zeke.
I told you, he ain't getting no 100 yards against this group.
Yeah, it's going. Look, man, I'm telling you, when you watch this group closely, and as they're starting to put it together, the linebacker core alone, just like C.J. Mosley, where he's come from the moment he came into this league, everybody understanding his ability on what he's able to do. But now him actually becoming that leader in the middle of that defense. If you watch the way he puts everything together, they're playing this way. Now, look, you get people talking about their record is this and that, and they didn't play this people. I don't care what their record is. I told you, men and women lie, but numbers don't, right? And when you get into numbers, there are harsh numbers in between the gaps, and me and him know this, right? So we used to come down, we used to say, how many third downs do people get on us? Because if you're number one in third downs, that means you're getting off the field.
Right.
Which means that's going to be a problem for anybody to sustain drives, right? One of Dallas' biggest accomplishments this year is sustaining drives because they can find them 5, 6 ugly yards.
Well, that's Skip's biggest thing because they average 10 to 11 plays per drive. If you get that many drives, you're normally going to end up with points, be it 7 or 3.
Absolutely.
So as many times you can get 3 and out, now you minimize the offensive opportunity to score points. And that's going to be at a premium because I don't believe, the Ravens don't have the most efficient or proficient offense. So they're going to have to get X amount of chances, but they're going to have to stay on the field because if they keep going 3 and out, the Cowboys offensive line will wear them down. Because those are some big bodies and they start leaning on you. And if you notice Zeke, like in the Pittsburgh game, he had like 60, 70 yards going into the fourth quarter.
But deep into the fourth.
But run with a third on the goalpost. So that's what you have to do if you're the Ravens. You must sustain drives because you do not want them worrying on your defense. Because if you hammer something long enough, it'll break.
It'll break. And see, and when you think about one of the biggest plays of that game was that screen play that he went almost 90 yards. 83 yards. If you watch that play, if 23, what's the safety for Pittsburgh?
Mike Mitchell.
If he gets over the top. And make this guy come back inside. It's a totally different ball game. But he goes behind that guy, and then Zeke is a sprinter. He ran track. The 100 yards is what he does. And now he's out of the gate. And that's what I think when you start to watch defense, you ask yourself, what does team defense look like? If he gets in front of that and makes him cut back, that's probably a 15-yard game, and it's not a 90-yard game. And that's one thing when you watch the Ravens play over the history of what the Ravens playing, team defense is always the most important thing in your minds. Always get the ball turned back inside. Really physical game.
I'm so happy we have this man here and you also, because what I respect the most about the purple, as you call it, what I fear the most as a Cowboy fan this Sunday is the legacy that you built and left in that locker room for John Harbaugh on the defensive side and Dean Pease. There's a legacy, there's a tradition, there's a feeling of dominance on the defensive side of the ball that you left. And never have I seen it better demonstrated than the last time Baltimore went to Dallas. And it was the last night of Texas Stadium. It was December 20th. Of 2008, and you were there, and they were closing down. God's building had the hole in the roof so God could watch his Cowboys, right?
Oh, boy.
And all the alumni came back. Over 100 former Cowboy greats were there, celebrated at halftime, and you guys were chosen as the homecoming foe, so to speak,
they chose us the year before. That's really
they chose you for this, right? So take it from there.
See, it's funny because the week before that game, Coach came in and he said, guess what? Like, they chose you guys for this game. Like, they said, we're going to play the Baltimore Ravens on that day. And I'm like, really? Because I think we're the wrong team that you want to choose for this type of homecoming. Because, you think about it, you can choose anybody you want to choose, but when you choose somebody who always plays pissed off anyway, but then the way that we took it personally, that now you wanted to close this stadium with us. So I said, okay. So when coach left, I never forget, I kept the defense in there. I said, we're going to rewrite history in a different way. We will always be remembered for shutting down Cowboys Stadium. So,
And by the way, Dallas was 9-5 going into that game. So it wasn't this.
No.
You were the underdog going into this game.
Right.
And my man Tony Romo had 2 touchdown passes, but he also threw 2 picks.
Yeah, buzzsaw.
Right?
Yeah,
It was a buzzsaw game, and the Ravens upset the Dallas Cowboys, upset them in many ways.
Yeah, I ain't never lost to the Cowboys.
Is that right?
Yep. We played them in 2000 when they had Emmett and Troy.
Yeah.
And it was
Kind of the
In Baltimore.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty, Skip.
44, we put up 44
No,
on them.
27-0.
27.
They might have had like 120 yards.
Right.
It wasn't pretty, Skip.
It wasn't
This
pretty.
night was 33-24. That's how you close
Yeah.
Texas Stadium.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this group this year would like to go
I think
in and spoil the party.
I think they
right?
got a chip on their shoulders. You know, you think about the games that they've been in. You watch them, what they did to Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, and now you watch this team kind of trying to build momentum, right? Because they're in a division that nobody.
Very winnable.
I mean, wow. I mean, you know, they have Cincinnati twice. They have Pittsburgh one more time in Pittsburgh. If you just split those, you come out of the AFC North as the champion, and you buy a berth into the playoffs. So I think they have much more to play for.
Well, like you said, something's got to give.
Yeah.
Well, Ezekiel Elliott is going to be a part of that. And coming up, Ezekiel Elliott is now the favorite to win the NFL MVP. So we'll get Skip, Shannon, and Ray's MVP picks next.